Hey everyone, welcome back for yet another 1/6 scale unboxing and review. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Hot Toys' 1/6 scale Yoda from the Star Wars franchise. Now this is my first Star Wars 1/6 scale unboxing, and of course you know I had to go with the legendary Master Yoda. I can't wait to get into this one, so let's not waste any more time and start this review. So taking a look at the box, it's another one of those simple designs. We have a solid black and gray background with a large image of Yoda holding his iconic saber. Now this is an image of the actual figure inside the box. And you can also see towards the bottom of the box, they have this added blue band with another image of Yoda posed in this attack stance. There's going to be some more wording on the top and bottom of the box, and on the back you have all of your warnings. And if we slide off the top half of the box, it's going to reveal a full cardboard insert of Yoda. Again, this is another photo of the figure posed with some force lightning. But if we remove this, you're going to see Yoda in the clamshell with all of his accessories. And like normal, we're going to get all of this out of the box, laid out on the table so we can take a closer look. So here we have all of the items included in the box. And let's just start off with the biggest one, the base. Hot Toys provided a rectangular base with a dynamic flight pull and a waist grip. Now the base itself has a metal nameplate on the front stating Star Wars Yoda, and on top it has this simple tile design. Nothing groundbreaking with the base, and that's okay. I like the simplicity of it. Moving on, we have a set of lightning pieces. Now these are pretty much the same translucent material that we saw with the in-game Thor's lightning, though technically this figure came first. But either way, I love that they added them. Now there are little holes on the ball section for Yoda's little pickle fingers to fit into, so you can make it look like he's shooting the lightning out, or from what I remember from the movies, he was absorbing the lightning, but you still would probably need another figure to pull that scene off. Still, it's a really cool piece that they decided to add into the box. Next, we have the world's smallest cane. And now this has some excellent sculpting and painting. You almost could believe that this is actual wood. Just kidding. But it does look really good. You can see all the detail that they put into it. I'm pretty impressed. Next, we have this assortment of hands and feet. And what I think is pretty funny is with the instruction sheet, it actually tells you which ones are right and left-handed or where they go, which is pretty funny because I probably would have gotten them mixed up. I would have put hands for feet and feet for hands, but there is really good detail with each one of these, and I'm very impressed. You can just take a closer look. You can see I really like these a lot. And of course, they always add a couple of extra wrist joints for when you inevitably break yours. At least I always do. I don't know why. I'm always breaking at least one wrist joint when I'm trying to switch out hands and feet. Lastly, we have the Interchangeable Lightsaber. Now, this is pretty sick. You have Yoda's green saber with a magnetic hilt, which you'll see in a little bit. But you can also switch out the blade. It's a little stuck, so you got to give it a little bit of pressure. But you can switch it out for this other green transparent piece. And when you pop that in, it gives the effect of motion with the saber, which is pretty cool. Overall, Hot Toys provided a good amount of accessories to play around with when posing. So with that out of the way, let's get the little guy out here and take a closer look at him. So here he is in all his 1/6 scale glory, and man, he looks freaking awesome. But before I go into the details, I just want to divert onto a little soapbox and talk about how much of a pain it is to remove all the little plastic wraps they put around the hands, feet, and neck of the Hot Toys figures. Now, I know it's supposed to help keep the figure pristine condition during the shipment, but boy, I struggle to get it off every time. It's like they shrink wrap the crap out of it just to make it as tight as possible, so you have to keep sitting there picking at it and picking at it to get it off. And I know that's probably the stupidest complaints, but I just finished getting all of it off, and I just thought I'd share that real quick. But we'll get off of that, and we'll get onto the head sculpt. And I gotta say, they nailed the CGI Yoda. This looks exactly like him from Attack of the Clones. Not nearly as adorable as Baby Yoda, though, but still pretty cool. Now, this is my very first figure with rooted hair, and it actually works with Yoda. I think it looks pretty good. This might hurt some of you when I say this, but I'm definitely not a fan of rooted hair for figures. I think a lot of figures, especially female figures, look really weird with rooted hair. It just doesn't look right. It's also a hassle when you're trying to get it to lay a certain way. I just think sculpted hair in almost most figures is going to look far better. but Yoda definitely gets a pass, and he is a part of the exception. Now, you will have to be careful with the hair, though, because it can easily fall out. Just touching it, you'll see a lot of these little white strands falling off, so just be aware of that. Now, moving on to the outfit, we have this thin tan robe with a hood that unfortunately is sewn to the back, so you can't pull it over his head and give him a mysterious look. The robe also seems to have a small wire running down the edges so you can pose the outfit dynamically, which I'm always a fan of. Underneath the robe, you have this brownish onesie with a waist belt. And now I said I was going to show you the magnetic hilt earlier. So here it is. You just take this and attach it right there. It's just a little magnet that attaches right to the left side of the hip. And voila, looks pretty freaking cool, right? Now, that's pretty much it for this little guy. I mean, there's not much there. He's just this small figure with some pretty simple clothing. All right, so now moving on to articulation. For the head, you're going to get a good amount of movement down, a little bit back, side to side, and then you can 360 rotate if you choose to. For the arms, you get a 90-degree extension. There is a butterfly joint in the shoulder and a swivel at the upper bicep. You also have a 90-degree bend at the elbow, and then your regular wrist joint for the hand. Now, there is zero ab crunch or twist or anything. There's basically no movement going on in this little tiny area right there. For the legs, you do get a good amount of extension to the side and forward. There is a double bend at the knee and a swivel at the upper thigh, and then your regular ball joint for your feet. So he's got good movement in his limbs, not so much in the middle section. So we'll see what kind of poses we can get him into, which is on to the next part. Let's pose him up, and I'll talk about what I like and dislike on this figure. So here we are once again at the end of the video, and like usual, I'm going to throw Yoda into some poses and give you my final thoughts on this figure. So let's get the bad out of the way first, and honestly, all three of my next points are not really that big of issues, just more of annoyances for me personally. First on the list is the rooted hair, and not how it looks. I think that it actually looks pretty good, but like I've mentioned, the rooted hair falling out with the slightest of touches kind of sucks. Though I'm not really sure how they could have worked around that issue without compromising the aestheticness of the head sculpt, but it is something to think about. Second issue I ran into was the limbs popping off when trying to switch out the hands and feet. One of the legs came off from the knee area and one arm popped out of the socket at the shoulder. And because of the onesie, it was super hard to feed the limb through the clothing and attach it back into place. And lastly, and this is probably the dumbest one, but I will admit, when I picked Yoda up for the first time, my index finger clamped down at the back of his foot and it actually pricked me. I was literally shocked because you see all the warnings in the instruction sheet for a lot of the figures about the pointy edges of accessories and how to be careful when handling them. But I thought it was a joke. I thought it was just for protection of the company in case some dummy went and stabbed himself with a fake 1/6 scale sword. But it turns out there are some sharp corners on the back of Yoda's feet. And if you touch them, they could prick you. But those are really the only negatives that I ran into when unboxing this figure. And you can already tell based on those tiny complaints, I really like this figure. This Yoda looks great from the head sculpt to the outfit. I love the accessories that they included and that magnetic hilt. The mobility of the figure is pretty good for being such a small guy. And I think Yoda is going to pair really well with other Star Wars figures. Ultimately, this is a buy in my book, and I would fully recommend picking it up if you're missing a Yoda for your collection. And I got to say, for my Star Wars collection, I have a lot more figures to really flush it out. But starting off with this Yoda, it's a good way to start. With all that said, I just want to thank you guys for joining for another 1/6 scale unboxing. I will have more videos coming out in the future, so look out for those. Like always, thank you, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.